The future is ancient history, learning to learn again. Long before humans came to exist on Earth, a battle between good and evil had been taking place in the world of microbes. Bacteria, protozoa, fungus, all in fierce competition with one another for world dominance, evolved to be parasitic or symbiotic to secure their proliferation. In relation to animals, bacteria primarily gravitated toward evil, creating parasitic relationships with their hosts and stealing life away from whomever they infected. Fungus, on the other hand, largely gravitated toward doing good, creating symbiotic relationships with all life on Earth and allowing for increasingly complex and stable ecosystems. For millions of years, a balance existed between good and evil on Earth, creating cycles of life, death, and rebirth. The era of Man and Fungus. When humans evolved to exist, they initially gave fungus a significant edge. They realized that although some fungi were poisonous, so many had healing properties that could protect their immune systems. Many even had psychedelic properties that gave humans a shortcut to thinking from the perspectives of other life on Earth. Outside and on the move, humans participated in the environment symbiotically, learning about and capitalizing on the interplay of their ecosystems by altering them in ways that benefited life on Earth more broadly. With more life sustained, fungus had more to decompose and regenerate. Earth was good, and humans' brain size skyrocketed, along with their ability to reconcile and integrate diverse perspectives. Cycling through ice ages, Earth's climate eventually became warmer, inspiring the kind of vegetative growth that made farming more viable as the primary food source. Over thousands of years, the promise of a bountiful harvest slowed human migration, and more of humanity began to live in one place, not knowing they were upsetting the balance of good and evil on Earth. The era of man and bacteria. As farming largely replaced hunting and gathering, the quality of water humans drank diminished. Humans became deficient in critical vitamins and minerals as their diets became less diverse, and most importantly, the air they breathed became stagnant, a result of how humans changed their environment to allow bacteria to dominate. Instead of belonging to Earth, they began to see their own planet as dangerous and inhospitable, and enclosed themselves in buildings they fashioned out of organic material. Humans for millennia afterward overlooked the dire consequences of creating environments shut off from outdoor air. They didn't realize how 26% of their own species were not evolved to metabolize the toxins produced by bacteria that, unlike fungus, thrived in enclosed spaces. They didn't understand how their persistent exposure to the neurotoxins the bacteria produced degraded their awareness, their immune systems, their emotional stability, and their ability to learn. They invented diseases like autism, dyslexia, depression, anxiety, and ADHD to try to explain what they were experiencing, but they couldn't determine the source of their cognitive distress. They didn't realize for thousands of years that as they breathed the air of the haunted houses they lived in, their bodies were becoming haunted houses themselves. To survive, they learned to serve masters of evil, their unconscious egos, falling prey to what they couldn't see, and ignoring their own bodies and the perspectives of other life on Earth because of inflammation in their brains. The most capable of humanity, the ones with genes that made them as susceptible to chronic mental illness as to brilliance, were the most affected and became powerful servants of evil on Earth, as they were the most vulnerable to the influences of a toxic world. And thus began a reign of evil that lasted for centuries. Humans came to build more and more permanent structures, catalyzing a surge in toxins and a vicious cycle in which humans continued to enclose themselves in more and more indoor spaces, trying to escape the consequences of the toxic world they created outside while weakening their tolerance to it through their exposure to the toxins indoors. No longer native in its own land, humanity forced these harmful ecosystems on plants and animals the world over, catalyzing the degradation of all life on Earth. The return of fungus. Amidst this cruel reign of bacteria, forces of good are returning. Humans are rediscovering their inner savant. A process of transmutation is taking place. For centuries, humans had invented scapegoats to explain the reign of evil on Earth. Out of desperation, fear, and ignorance, they would point to other humans to explain the ills of society and absolve themselves from those sins. So certain of the evil in another, humanity would even kill its own kind. Today, humans who have the most potential have become the scapegoats of this world. burdened with toxins they can't rid from their brains because of their own genetic predisposition, these potential geniuses haven't just struggled with the resulting psychological and cognitive challenges, they've been alienated from their species because of their response to their environment. This time away from the rest of the species has helped a handful of these individuals discover the source of their pain and turn the evil that had festered in them into light. This transformation has begun with medical doctors with the same genetic predisposition for brilliance and psychological distress. Through a medical protocol, they have learned to heal others by first healing themselves. As their work has expanded, more and more of humanity has begun to rediscover who they were all along. Geniuses, once lost in a toxic world, are waking up to their potential again. For these humans, psychological disorders and learning disabilities are vanishing, and their inner savants are returning for good. These changes have catalyzed the beginning of the return of fungus. The only question that remains is who will be the next to wake up to their inner savant. Is it you?